Power to the Princess, Thumbelina. There once was a woman who lived on a faraway island among jungles, lagoons, volcanoes, and a great seashore. The woman wished very much to have a child, so she visited Barley, Corn and Associates, a prominent magical and medicinal clinic, and was given the opportunity to raise a flower child. These small children were grown inside flowers, and the woman was sent home with a seedling. She potted her flower and kept it healthy and nourished. One day, when she leaned in to kiss the blossom, it opened to reveal a tiny girl inside. The woman was overjoyed and named her new daughter May. She set up a clever home for her tiny daughter with a seashell bed, a thimble chair and table, and a boat made from banana leaves and the whiskers of a tiger. Every night the woman would sing to May, and the two would make up rhymes together. May grew to be a great lover of music. She invented stringed instruments from stems and grasses and percussion from seed pods and sand. She carved holes in twigs to make flutes and brushed dewdrops along the rim of polished sheet glass. May imagined it sounded like the wings of tiny fairies. May's music soon attracted attention. Animals and people alike would stop outside her home to hear her play. One day, May's mother interrupted her playing with a suggestion. "How would you like a wider audience for your music? There's only so much our small town can offer. A bigger place would give you the chance to be a star." May considered the idea. True, her town was lovely, but she was always curious what else was out there, and a chance to develop her music in an exciting new town sounded promising. May was sad to leave, but she packed her instruments in her seashell bed and set off in the direction of the next biggest town. Before she left, her mother hugged her tight and said, "Remember, May, always ask questions. You don't have to trust someone until they've earned it." After traveling for some time, May stopped by a pond to make camp. Just as she was closing her eyes, she heard a voice behind her. "Well, aren't you a sight, missy?" hissed a croaky voice. "Who's there?" asked May. "Well, hello, dearie." A large toad slunk out from the shadows. "I do believe you are on my property." She brandished a stick thick with neon algae that dripped over May as the toad moved closer. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll pack up right away," May said, jumping out of the shell. The slimy creature reached into the shell and caressed a flute. "No need, my pet, you can be Lady Toad's guest." And she trotted off with May's belongings in hand. May had no choice but to follow. In Lady Toad's residence, it was clear something was not right. She fussed and fawned over May, touching her hair, poking her ribs. "Just what are you doing out alone on a night like this?" coaxed Lady Toad. "I'm off to pursue my dream of being a musician," May said proudly. "It's as if you fell right into my lap," Lady Toad said triumphantly. "Our family has a traveling band. How'd you like a spot in our show? I'll make you a flashy costume and you can perform in the late show every night. Only the finest critters come out at that hour. We'll be rich." May doubted that the finest folks came out in the wee hours. She desperately wanted to leave, but Lady Toad had her shell and all her instruments. May was sick to her stomach. What had she stumbled into? "Allow me to show you to your, quarters," offered Lady Toad, gesturing to a far-off lily pad. Lady Toad hopped her way over to the middle of the pond and dumped May onto the slippery pad. She brushed all nearby leaves or stepping stones aside and disappeared into the dark, leaving May stranded. May was frightened. She couldn't swim and was too small to reach anything nearby to escape. Trying to comfort herself, she put her hands in her pockets and discovered a bit of sea glass. May dipped a finger into the murky pond water, then slid it along the glass and began to play a mournful song. Below her, a fish, stirred by May's music, popped its head out of the water. "What a sad tune," the fish noted. "Is something the matter?" May explained her predicament. "I'm supposed to be headed to a big city to be a musician, but Lady Toad put me here," she said, gesturing to the lily pad. "I'm stuck with nowhere to go. I'm very sorry to hear of your troubles. I can't do much, but I can cut you loose," said the fish. It nibbled the stem of the lily pad until it cut loose and May began to float. "My friends the butterflies will help you. Just look up," called the fish. "They'll guide you to dry land." "Thank you," May called, grabbing a stick as a paddle. May propelled the boat along the water as it opened to a stream. When the night sky gave way to dawn, she saw a tangle of lovely butterflies on the horizon. She followed them just as the fish had suggested, and the stream turned to a marsh and then a field. May stepped off the lily pad onto dry land. Parrot calls filled the sky above, and they kept May awake as she strode through the field. She was very tired, but she flicked the grasses in rhythm with the birds' voices and wrote a new song to keep her company as she journeyed. Soon, May arrived at a small door in the field. She was exhausted and without a single belonging, so she gave the door a rapid pound, eager to rouse the owner. An eccentric old mouse answered the door. "Come in from the cold, young thing," the mouse invited. The mouse was welcoming and tended to May, keeping her warm and fed. May offered to return the favor by singing. "You're a musician?" inquired the mouse. "Well, I'm working at it. I was on my way to the next biggest town to see if I have what it takes," May explained. May sang a song that she'd written for the mouse, accompanying herself on the sea glass. It was marvelous, and the mouse applauded generously. "I know just who to introduce you to," declared the mouse. "My neighbor, Lord Mole. He knows all the top talent in music." And with that, the mouse ran next door to Lord Mole's. She was gone for quite some time, and when she returned, she looked very proud of herself. "It's all set, pet. Lord Mole is anxious to meet you." May barely had a moment to protest, for the mouse took May by the hand and led her down her tunnel to the neighbor. "He'll keep you in fancy clothes, pay for your music career, and introduce you to all sorts of important critters. I've already signed a contract for you," the mouse prattled. Along the way, they passed a bird, collapsed in a heap. "Don't mind the riffraff," the mouse gestured to the feathered mass. "Once you're a famous singer, all your paths will be cleared." "Welcome," beckoned Lord Mole when they arrived at his underground office. The walls were littered with awards, album covers, and photos featuring the smiling faces of his friends and clients. Everyone looked a little too good to be true. "Step over here. Let me take a look at you," Lord Mole coaxed, circling May. He talked endlessly about lords and ladies, barons and baronesses, and all manner of fancy folk. May remembered what her mother said. She didn't trust Lord Mole one bit. "We'll start with a makeover. I'll order you a new wardrobe made exclusively of dragonfly wings to show off your cute little self." Lord Mole began dictating a list to the mouse. "With shoes to make you taller, of course. We'll give you a tragic backstory, too. What was it you said? You were born in a burned-out hazelnut shell?" No, I'm from a beautiful flower," May tried to interrupt. "I'll have Spotted Newt write you some new tracks. He's tapped into all the trends," Lord Mole continued. "But I write my own music," May said. Lord Mole laughed loudly. "Success in this business is not about your lyrics. It's doing the whole package, and I know just how to wrap you up. Trust me." May was beginning to see the full extent of Lord Mole's plan, and none of it included her music. He'd never even heard her sing. May was fed up, so she faked a yawn and excused herself back to the mouse house. She had to figure a way out of this. On the way, May stopped beside the overcome bird, a beautiful parrot. "Are you all right?" she asked as she knelt beside the poor creature. "I could use a hand. I caught something in my wing on my way out of town," the parrot explained. I think I heard you before, singing. I was so inspired," said May. "Oh, so was that you on the accompaniment?" the parrot smiled. May smiled back, then examined the wounded bird. "There's a thorn in your wing," she explained. "There's been a thorn in my side as well. I'd be glad to help you with yours if you help me with mine, but I don't see anything on you," said the parrot. "It's not a real one," May laughed, rolling the parrot on his side, then gently loosening the offending thorn. "You see, I set off to find the next great place to preserve my music, but everyone I've met so far wants to change me in a way that suits them. The latest is a mouse who signed me into a contract with Lord Mole, but something about him just doesn't sit right with me, and that's my thorn." "Sounds like you have good instincts. That contract sounds fishy, especially since you didn't even sign it. I think I know a way to get you out of it. You've helped me with my thorn. Now it's my turn to help you," said the parrot. On the morning of May's makeover, all the critters Lord Mole had hired arrived with him at the mouse's house. Just as Lord Mole was about to leave, May said, "Lord Mole, you've hired this big team for me. Don't you want to hear me sing?" Lord Mole paused at the door. "To show everyone how great I'm going to be, how rich I'll make them all." "Oh, of course." Lord Mole glowed at the sound of riches. So May reached for a set of pots to use as drums, plucked a comb from the table to play across her lips, and began playing and singing the single most awful song anyone had ever heard. "La, la, 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 lee!" May screeched, hamming it up. The creatures in the burrow covered their ears. Some covered their eyes, and those that didn't exchanged wide-eyed looks. When the song was over, May dropped the comb, clattered the pots to the floor, and strode out of the burrow, head held high. Lord Mole took after May. "You'll never be a star with shenanigans like that." "Watch me," said May. Lord Mole shook his fist at her in anger, but at just that moment, the freshly healed parrot swooped from the sky and picked May up and away. Together, they flew a day's journey, and the parrot landed in a kingdom of flowers at the doorstep of a place called the Wings of Music Residency Center. Ta-da! Announced the parrot. This is what your heart desires, am I right? Oh my, it's wonderful, May said. The Institute was like a grand park, with small cottages for studios, instrument making, and performing. Fairies, critters, and creatures of all kinds mingled through the grounds, whistling, singing, and tapping out rhythms. Even some just May's size. It's a place where you'll always be the author of your own song, explained the parrot. No one to push me into contracts, performances, or costumes, cheered May. She gave the parrot a tremendous hug and sent him on his way. Thank you, thank you, May waved as he flew off. May remained at the residency for a long time, exploring her craft, inventing instruments, and making lifelong friends. Many of her friends had similar stories about having been mistreated and misdirected in their pursuits as artists. When May left the residency, she became a prominent musical producer, helping magical creatures foster their gifts and preserve the integrity of their work. In later life, she retrained as a lawyer, specializing in contracts and advocacy. She fought tirelessly for even the smallest creature, ensuring they could follow their heart.